Alright guys, we're back in my garage for another video. If you're new to the channel, I use these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments related to our cars, as well as discuss technical topics to help us understand how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe to the channel because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. So today we're going to be talking about the new Dynamic AutoWorks Flowmax Turbo that's going to be coming to the market. And some of you guys might have seen the announcements or teasers that have been posted on Instagram. And I know a lot of people had questions about what's new with the turbo, if it's worth upgrading if you already have one, or is it worth waiting for it if you're already planning on ordering. So I'm going to try to explain just the current breakdown and landscape, since Sean did put in a pretty good post how it's all going to be laid out. And hopefully this will help you guys understand what's changing and if it's worth going this direction for your build. Now, the first thing that I want to mention is, since a lot of people have been asking me, I want you guys to keep in mind that this is not something that's uncommon. Obviously, a lot of companies have been coming out with new turbos over the past several months, and I always see somebody saying, oh, well, they have to compete with this turbo company, or they're trying to copy this manufacturer, and ultimately, all the turbo companies are competing with each other at all times, which means that they are always trying to upgrade to the next level. This happens across any turbo, even aftermarket turbo companies like Garrett, Precision, Borg-Warner. All of these companies frequently come out with new revised versions of their turbos as they improve the blade material, the design, the number of blades, all of these things that can impact spool and overall performance. So as turbos get more and more efficient over time, everybody else is going to continue upgrading their turbo offerings to stay competitive. So just keep that in mind. This is something that's going to continue to improve over time. It's not something that I recommend really getting hung up on. Just figure out your goals, build your car to match your goals, and enjoy it. Anyway, so let's talk about the actual Flowmax. So for those of you that remember when the first Flowmax came out, it was technically called V2, and it was a completely stock style turbo. So the inlet fit the stock OEM turbo inlet, the downpipe and all the other connections were just like stock, and it flowed up to around 600 wheel horsepower. So it was comparable to what you could get from the old Pure Stage 1 or maybe a Vargas GC. Eventually, they upgraded that to the V2.5, and that's what they sold up until about 6 months ago, where basically this turbo was a bigger inlet, a bigger compressor housing, a bigger wheel, and it just allowed it to flow more air with a minimal sacrifice to spool. After that, earlier this year, they came out with the limited edition turbos, and eventually they rolled that into their regular production line. So anything that you've ordered since like the spring of this year has been what they call the Flowmax version 2.5 Plus or the Flowmax Plus. And again, it's just a slight improvement over the previous version 2.5 with a slightly bigger wheel to help you get a little bit more power with a minimal impact on spool. Now, if you guys have seen any of Sean's posts or any of the Flowmax posts where they talk about their goals, the primary focus is spool. They want the quickest spooling turbo possible while still being able to support upwards of 750 or so wheel horsepower. So every time they upgrade their turbos, it's kind of pushing that limit, but they don't want to sacrifice spool too much. So they really make sure that the exhaust wheel is properly sized so that the turbo can spool quickly, and ultimately it can just flow a little bit more air when it's pushed as hard as possible. Now they have announced that they are going to be coming out with a new Ultra Flow turbo. And the Ultra Flow turbo is going to be a little bit different. This is one where it's going to lag a little bit more, but it'll flow a lot more air. I don't know exactly what the horsepower rating is going to be, but I would estimate it to be able to support at least 100 horsepower over the existing turbo, if not more. They have posted a couple pictures compared to the old V2. So this isn't, the version 2.5 or basically the turbo that you would have ordered over the past year or so. But still, it just shows how much bigger it is compared to the original turbo offering that they launched with. So the exhaust wheel is significantly bigger, the compressor wheel is significantly bigger. It looks like the inlet is going to be the same size as the current version 2.5 Plus turbo, but the wheel inside of it will have a much larger blade so that it can flow more air. Now, he's hinted at this previously that this might come, so I'm not surprised that they actually came to market with it, but I do want you guys again to realize that their goal with the version 2.5, the regular Flowmax turbo, was the quickest spool possible and maxing out the stock engine. So unless you're adding port injection and planning on building your transmission and doing all these other things to really max it out, it's most likely not worth it. It's very similar to the other turbo upgrades that have been slowly getting revised, where a lot of times you're sacrificing a little bit of spool time for more top end power. If you're just going to be like most people hitting 600 to 650 wheel horsepower, this new turbo is just going to be a little bit more laggy around town while still giving you the same performance up top, because you're going to be limited by other things other than the turbo. So for most people, I would say it's not worth upgrading. It's not worth changing anything. If you're just going to do a Dorch Stage 2 and an upgraded turbo, the regular version 2.5 Plus will meet all of your goals and needs that you can hit with that setup. But it is cool to see the UltraFlow coming out, as well as all the other, hybrid turbo companies that are really pushing the threshold of what a hybrid can do. You guys know I'm much more a fan of a full frame turbo because I like a properly matched compressor and exhaust wheel with, the housing and everything designed from scratch to flow more air. And so these guys are really pushing the limits of what you can do in a stock frame housing with just running the biggest wheels possible to flow as much air as possible while still looking like a stock turbo. So we'll just need to keep an eye out for this. They said it will be launching fully soon. It looks like there's going to be a couple people with this, including Para M140i on Instagram, so you guys can check out his page if you want to see some of the development and maybe some of his initial figures when he gets that installed. But I'm excited for this turbo because I definitely think it'll really push the platform even further. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.